So I've been in the online business space for at least 5 years now, and I've scaled two companies to multiple seven figures a year in revenue, one in the B2C niche and one in the B2B niche. I've seen every single kind of new offer, new niche, new creation, new way to make money online come and go into the space throughout those last 5 years. And ultimately, what I'm about to share with you is what I did to scale my first business to that magical, 10K a month and upwards to seven figures a year plus. And obviously what helped me create the second business in a much faster time frame to those numbers. But ultimately, what I'm about to share with you isn't what I'd actually recommend you do if you're coming into this space and you're looking to make your first six figures online. What I have to offer you and what I want to share with you is something different, something that is going to set you up way better for success, and something that you can leverage throughout the rest of your business career that is going to enable you to not only make money faster initially, but make sure that when you do go and start that business, when you do go and find that new niche or that new kind of gap in the market that you're ultimately going to fill, you're going to have a much higher chance of actually having success with it. And this comes from me not telling you here's what I did and I recommend you do the same. It's actually quite the opposite. I'm going to show you exactly what I did and why I don't recommend you do it. And then I want to offer a solution to you that I've seen work with over 600 individuals at this point. And you might be inclined to guess what that is. I'm going to recommend remote sales. Remote sales is the best. It's the simplest, it's the fastest, but arguably it's pretty boring. There's no secret hacks, secret tricks. There's no, you're missing this one thing. We're not creating anything new. We're not jumping on the NFT train. We're not jumping on the content train, marketing agency, whatever it is, AI, SaaS. No, you're learning a fundamental skill and you're utilizing that to make money first. Now, I obviously first want to run through with you exactly how you can start an online business if you feel so inclined. And essentially this mirror board is going to show you exactly what I don't think you should do right now, but feel free to steal this and use it if you so please. Because this is ultimately what goes into starting, a six-figure a year business and ultimately one that can scale. But the scaling part is hard. It's difficult. And there's a lot of elements to this that you need to get right. First and foremost, if we look at it from right to left, these are all elements of the business that need to work and need to operate in order for you to have kind of that end success, right? First and foremost is the offer. You need to think around actually what are you going to build? What are you going to offer the market? What are you actually going to sell people? And that's not necessarily the tangible product you're going to sell, but the offer is the creation of the wording, how it's kind of presented in a way that actually gets people inclined and wanting to work with you. Now, you've probably seen 1,000,001 different offers online and they all take time to create. There's a lot of testing that goes into it. The creation itself and the packaging are all important and all things you need to think about. And likewise, pricing, right? All of this needs to happen before you do anything else. I need to sneeze. Bless me. And obviously there's going to require a lot of testing in this. You need to go to your market. You might have to offer some sort of free trials. A lot of people offer a lot of free trials. If you're starting a SaaS, you offer free trials initially. A lot of agencies offer free trials. They work with clients for free to make sure that the offer they're offering actually works. And then obviously comes pricing. What price point are you going to price it at? This is something you really need to think of before you get going and before you even consider anything else. And then once you've dialed this in, you need to consider the marketing side of things. Now, marketing is arguably one of the biggest parts of the business that's going to get the eyeballs on. And that's going to come down to the creation of your website, making your websites compelling, it's converting. People that actually go to your website do ultimately want to go and work with you. And then obviously in today's era, content, man, you've got to be doing content. If you're not actively marketing the business yourself and you're just expecting leads to come to you, your business isn't going to work. Content in itself it's a full-time job. I sit behind this camera and I can pull back the curtain here and say look, I have a business that operates on this model and it's hard work. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of energy. And a big part of that is content. If you're not producing content, whether that's on Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, wherever your audience is and wherever you define what your offer is going to be and who you're going to market to, you need to make sure you're pushing out content on those platforms frequently to make sure you're getting eyeballs. And then obviously comes ads. You're going to have to spend money on ads because you can't necessarily build a business on organic growth necessarily because you don't know. It's a very hard metric to track. You can't say for sure how many eyeballs your content is going to get week on week to then make sure you're generating enough sales to then ultimately go and make a profit or scale the business. So then comes ads. You're going to have to spend a lot of money and a lot of time and energy creating ads. You have to potentially work with an ad specialist, which I'll come on to. And obviously the biggest thing with that is that's going to cost money. And marketing costs money, right? Like I personally spend in Club Closer, for example, my B2C business, we spend upwards of 30 to 40 thousand pounds a month on marketing. Now, to operate at the scale we do, obviously when you're starting out, you're not going to have the capital to do that. And obviously things are going to get slower, and that you can market yourselves organically, but the growth path and the time it's going to take you to have success is going to be slow. Obviously the whole point of marketing is getting sales, which brings me to the next part, sales. So once you've obviously refined the offer, you've dialed in your marketing, you can then start selling. And obviously with sales, a lot of these kind of high ticket and in the online space, we want to generate calls. Once you get someone on a call, you can then effectively sell to them. So the first thing is actually setting up appointments and getting appointments booked into your calendar or your team's calendar and making sure that they can convert. Obviously then you book calls, and then obviously the goal is to close those clients. Now, providing you do close those clients and you've got this dialed in, which is really, I would say, like the toughest part, you then have to go ahead and fulfill on the thing you've actually sold. And that's going to come with the creation of the product. You actually have to build a good product, right? Your product needs to be solid. You need to be actually generating client results, right? You need to make sure the clients you work with are actually winning from the thing you're selling. Because if you don't do that, if you can't generate client results and you're not good at what you're selling, or you can't deliver on what you're selling, your business isn't going to last. I see businesses come and go into the online space incredibly frequently. I've seen businesses that have copied our offer, our wording, our ads, even our website, that have tried to replicate what we do, and they've copied this, but frankly, they fail on fulfillment and they can't deliver on the actual same results because the product's not there. So fulfillment is a job in itself. Product's got to be good. You have to manage your clients, whether that's you or a team member. And then obviously this is kind of the main thing with growing a business. You need to make sure the clients are actually getting results. Now, in order to do this, you're likely going to need a team. Like, this is a lot of work. So you're going to have to hire a team, you're going to have to manage that team, and you're going to have to pay that team. And all of that takes work. That could be that you're hiring a marketing manager, a content guy, an editor, sales reps eventually, maybe CSMs, maybe someone to make sure that your business can actually, get those results. Which again is a job in itself. And as the business grows, you might have to hire management roles and really scale up into that, which is a great place to be. But I don't want to kind of deceive you. And I really just want to give you the raw facts of like, this is hard. This takes work. I've seen a lot of people enter into the online space and try and set up an online business like this with no experience, no kind of knowledge of the online space, or no understanding of how things work, or even having the skills they need in order for this to work. And ultimately they don't succeed. And I guess the last thing to really touch on then is finances. Having a business, making money isn't kind of, just because you make money doesn't mean you make money, right? You have to make profit. You have to make sure that your business runs at a good profit margin and is actually scalable, because you're spending money on your team. You're probably going to be spending money on fulfillment. You need to spend money on marketing. And all of that costs money. And obviously, if you can run it like, I would say, a 50% plus profit margin, you're pretty good. However, many businesses struggle because ad costs, they can't manage things, they can't get things dialed in. I've personally experienced those issues with running ads and not running profitable ads. And you have to be willing to sort of take a loss and invest money into that for the learning phase, and making sure you're kind of trial and erroring ads and trial and erroring things in the business, investing in, mentorship, coaches, whatever else, to make sure that this kind of whole operation does work. And then obviously accounting, kind of, you need to think about that, taxes, whatever. I won't go into that, but taxes are something you'd have to consider too and really factor into your profit margins. And only when you've done all of this, only when you've dialed all of this in, can you then actually have and say that you've got a successful business. And of course, like, look, I'm not here to scare you. I don't want to scare you off from starting a business, but I just want to be real with you. This is tough. This takes work. And frankly, the biggest mistake I see people make is they jump into this way too early. They don't have the skills required to actually know what a good offer looks like. They don't know how to market. They have no knowledge on marketing whatsoever, or it's very limited. They don't know how to sell. They've got no idea how to sell their product, which ultimately funnels back into marketing, because if you don't know how to sell, you likely don't know how to market yourselves, because marketing is selling. And then obviously same again, if you don't know how to sell, you probably don't know how to create a compelling offer that people actually want to buy, and you don't know how to package it up in the right way. So if you don't know kind of the sales side of things, you're not dialed on the sales, you're kind of going to struggle with the marketing, you're going to struggle on the offer. And then obviously fulfillment is another skill. You need to make sure that you can actually build a good product, and you know how to manage clients, and you know how to actually get the client results in whatever area of expertise you go in and do business, whether that's helping people with marketing and marketing could be in so many different ways. That could be you're a marketing agency and you're working with real estate clients, you're working with dental clients, you're working with SaaS companies. You need to know that industry inside and out so that you know how to actually market those AI companies, SaaS companies, whatever it is, so that you can actually go and get them client results. Or even for me, for example, speaking about my business, Club Closer, we help sales reps get better at sales, and then ultimately go and land remote sales positions where they're earning six figures plus a year, 10K plus a month. If I didn't know how to do that, and I didn't know the online space like the back of my hand, like I do from the last 5 years of being in it, I'd probably really struggle with delivering client results. But fortunately I do, and we do deliver results. We have great results. But the goal of this video isn't to sell you on that. It's to really sell you on the vehicle of sales more so than anything. Because I don't frankly care if you come and work with me inside my coaching program. I just want to show you a better route so that you are setting yourself up for the most success. And then I guess the last thing really is team, like managing, hiring. That is a skill in itself. And when you get a business to this level, like hiring and managing a team are difficult. And really, I mean, without pushing sales too much, hiring is sales too. I have to sell people on wanting to work. I have to, you have to, we have to sell people on working for us. We have to make sure that our company structure, the amount we pay people, the way we treat people, the culture is an environment and a place where people actually want to work and they can see themselves growing. And that's the same with management, if I'm honest. Like managing people, you need to kind of motivate them. And motivation comes from having those skills, having those persuasion skills, and having a really solid level of human, I guess, human emotion, so that then you can manage them effectively, which again filters down to sales skills. But look, as I said, like if you're new to the online space, I don't want to shit on you, but this is a really difficult thing to build out from the get-go. And if you're coming from, and it takes time, all of this takes time, learning these skills, applying everything, it takes a hell of a lot of time. And just for transparency, it took me 2+ years before my business actually made a profit. My B2B business, the first one I started, when I was building it, when I was at university, and obviously when I left university, it took 2 years to build that thing. And maybe I could have done it quicker had I not been at university and I had all the time in the world and I wasn't working a job at Red Bull at the same time. But frankly, I didn't have any of these skills. I didn't know what I was doing. I was fresh to the space. I was trying to do something that frankly, I didn't know how to do. But now I have this really solid level of understanding. And if I was to go and set up a third business, a fourth business, I know I have the skills to deliver on all of this. I know how to build an offer. I know how to market. I know how to sell. I know I can build a good product depending on what niche I go into. I personally wouldn't go and try to do marketing for an AI company because that's not something I know how to do. And then team, I know how to manage a team. I've built a team. I've built a team of 7-figure sales reps. So I know how to do that. I've hired many. And finances, I know that I can operate at a good profit margin depending on the business, depending on the niche. But frankly, if you're new here and you're looking at entering into the online space, or you're considering kind of this make money online space, I don't recommend you do that. I recommend you purely focus in on sales and sales alone, because sales is ultimately, as we've discovered from going through this, the backbone of every single business in the world. Sales is everywhere. Anywhere you look, anything, like someone had to sell this, someone had to sell this, someone sold me this, like it's everywhere. Someone sold me this camera I'm filming this on. Someone sold me on how to start a business initially. Like it's all sales. So learning sales is really the backbone of every single business, and it's the most important and most valuable skill you can have. And I really hope you hear the conviction in my voice, and that I don't care if you come and work with me or you learn from me. All I want you to do is just go and dial in the sales skills first before you try and do this, because I've seen it. I've seen it countless times. People try and make money online. They try and they fail, and they go back to their jobs, or they go back to what they were doing before and thinking it doesn't work. It does work. It takes time, and you can achieve this, and you can make a 7, 8, 9-figure business if you know how to do this effectively. But you need to focus on the sales first. And what I really recommend, and why I think kind of remote sales, high ticket closing is the safest, it's the simplest, but arguably it's the most boring, because it doesn't require all this complexity, right? Quite frankly, if you go and you work for a business that already has all of this in place, you're not starting from the ground up. You're not starting with a business that ultimately is making zero out the gate. If you plug yourself into a business that's already doing $1 million a month, $1 million a year already, you can plug yourself in and learn directly from them by doing the sales for them, if you know how to sell effectively and you go and land a sales role within that company. And the way that works really, and this is where there's a lot of misconception around kind of like high ticket closing, where do you get the leads? Why am I only speaking to warm inbound prospects? Well, it's because these companies that are doing millions a month, millions a year, they already have the offer and the marketing dialed in. And really, again, they have everything dialed in, right? So you're just isolating this one part of it, and you're using that to make your first 6 figures. So you're removing a hell of a lot of the complexity, a hell of a lot of the moving parts. You're not focusing on learning, how many are there here? 6 skills at once. You're just focusing on one. And by focusing on that one, you can have a lot of success a lot faster. And the way that would look for you if you did go and land a role with these companies and you focused in on sales is these sales calls are booked for you, because the marketing is already in place. The offer creation is already there. They're already spending money on ads. They're already setting appointments. So these calls are already booked for you. Your job is simply to jump on those sales calls, which are taking over Zoom calls now. And I mean, look, COVID happened. A lot of businesses moved online. The online space as a whole is growing. Everyone's transitioning to online. Even a lot of corporate roles are transitioning into the online space. So your job is just to take those calls over Zoom calls. You close those deals and you collect your commission. It is really that simple. Learn the skill, land the role, and that is really all there is to it. And I'm sat here thinking like, I need to tell these people more. I need to go into more detail. I need to share more. But frankly, that is all there is to it. Learning sales, landing a role, and that's how you can get to the first 6 figures a year. And just to break this down for you, I've taken this as one of my team's calendar from a few months ago. This is their calendar, right? These calls are booked directly in their calendar for them. My sales rep is not going out and generating these meetings themselves. They're not doing outbound. They're not doing the marketing. They're not doing the offer creation. That's my job as the business owner. Because I manage all these parts, I wear all these hats, because I know how. I do everything. And then I outsource the sales to my sales team. And there's many online businesses that do this. I just want to share it from, I guess this is me kind of practicing what I preach, and that I'm showing you exactly how this works in my business, and how there's thousands, tens of thousands, probably even hundreds of thousands of businesses online that do a very similar model. And then there's no shortage of roles as becoming high ticket closers right now. If anything, the market is growing. So this is their calendar, right? These calls are booked directly in his calendar for him. All he's got to do is show up to these calls, take these calls and close them. And look, if you work for a business that the product is 5K a month, 5K, not 5, maybe if it is 5K a month, you're making even more. But let's just say the product you're selling is 5,000, right? The offer that you're selling and their pricing point is £5,000, right? As a closer, you're making 10% commission. That's industry standard. You could potentially go up to making 20% commission. In my company, for example, we have tiered commissions where if they hit over a certain cash collection rate, it goes up to 12 and then 14%. So there's options for you to make more depending on the business you work with. So for every close, you'd then be making £500, right? £500 for every single closed deals. Now you can see on average, he's probably got 4 to 6 or 7 calls in his calendar. We're busy. This sales rep opens up their calendar quite freely for us because, they see the potential. They know the close rate. They know that they can make money here. And if you're closing just 25% of deals, which is probably industry standard, so 1 in 4 you're going to close, and you're getting 4 calls booked on your calendar every single day, you're going to have a good chance of closing at least one of those deals, right? Because they're qualified. They've been nurtured by the marketing. The offer stands out to them. There's a level of interest. Often businesses have kind of SDRs or appointment setters in place before they jump on a call with a closer to really nurture those leads and make sure they are warm. And your job as a closer is just to utilize those sales skills and kick those deals over the line. So 25% close rate is very obtainable. In which case, to get to 10K a month profit, all you got to do is close 20 deals a month. And all you've got to do is learn sales and land a good role. It's that simple. And really, if you compare this to like making 10K a month profit with this, you're probably going to have to make 20K because your margins, right? To actually get 10K a month profit. And there's a hell of a lot more complexity to it than, quite frankly, taking Zoom calls, closing the deals, collecting the commission. And I can dull this down even more for you because, again, as I said, it's this simple. It's quite frankly learning how to sell and learning how to sell high ticket effectively. And if you can do that, you're in a good spot to go away and find a great business to work for that already has all of this in place for you. So you don't have to think about it. All you've got to think about is the sales side of things, is actually jumping on those Zoom calls and closing those deals. And once you've done that, then you're going to have success. It's really that simple. Learn how to sell and find a great offer and business to sell for. Now, the reason I say this is boring and it's safe is because now a lot of people will see that there are businesses making millions a month, millions a year, and they'll think, I want to do that. And yeah, that's great, and you can go and do that, and you will go and do that, but you have to take the steps first, right? It's like a ladder. Ladder might be easier for me to draw. If you're not even on the ladder right now, you're not even on this ladder, right? And you want to get to the million, right? You have to climb the ladder. And if you can climb the first rank, which might be like just an easy 2K a month, which to be honest, I don't even want to say 2K a month because I don't know any sales rep that's making as little as 2K a month. Let's say 5K a month. You do that and then you get to the 10 and then you can climb up and you can continue climbing up. And maybe, only maybe, when you get to 30K a month with closing or doing this simple process, you then decide to start the business, right? Because you've now got the capital, you've now got way more knowledge from learning from these businesses from the inside, seeing how their offer is created, seeing the marketing, fulfilling on the sales side of things, and then you get an understanding of how they're fulfilling, how the team is structured, right? Once you have that good understanding, then you're in a really strong position to go away and start your own business. And I can say this because I've seen people do it. Now, I can, and the thing is, just back to the point of like, you want to get to that mill a year. I get it. Everybody does, but you have to go about it in the right way. And by learning sales first and taking the time to do that, you're going to be able to do it much quicker than if you had a ladder that maybe only had that, let's say 50K a month was where you wanted to get to, and then the mill a month. You can't physically climb up that ladder because it's such a jump and it's going to take you ages to try and figure out how to get there, right? And you may never get there, right? There's so many people in this online space that go away and start businesses and try and they never actually get there because they're lacking the fundamentals. And those fundamentals could be learning to sell, working for another business, making 5K a month, making 10K a month, 20, and then scaling to that 50K, because you're giving yourself a hell of a lot better chance. And the time frame, although you might think, okay, well, I'm actually only capped at 10 to 30K a month working in sales. If you do that and you can get to that in a year time frame, that's a way higher success rate than anyone that's trying to get to the 50, 100 mil a month and ultimately never gets there. But if you do this for a year, you have a much better chance. And I can say this with confidence because I've seen it happen. You've got Eamon here who had no sales experience whatsoever, entered into the online space, and within his first 21 days working as a high ticket closer, he made 11K in 1 month. You've got Brent here, he worked in real estate before, he actually works for my team. Now, he worked in real estate, he worked for me for a time, we scaled him up and let him become a closer, or he worked hard and kind of learned those sales skills to become a closer. He then makes 10K a month from his laptop, working in South Africa. You've got Mari here who, worked a corporate sales job. She was selling luxury cruises, selling in luxury hotels. She quit, and within, a very quick time frame, I don't want to quote because I can't remember off the top of my head, so I don't want to give you unrealistic expectations. She's now making 13K a month online as a high ticket closer. And all of these people have big goals. They don't know they're not just going to stay sales reps forever. They know they want to go on and start their own businesses and ultimately scale to much, much higher numbers. But by doing this, they're giving themselves a hell of a lot of a better chance to actually getting there and then making very good money in the process. And I can say that because Jordan here, Jordan here makes 180k a month with a year, as high ticket closing, and he's actually gone on to start his own business now. So he's done it. He's gone through this process, and he started his own business where he works as a fractional sales manager, recruitment company that hires high ticket closers and then places them inside businesses. And I believe he scaled it up to 50k a month, right? So he's done that, and he's been in the high ticket space a little over a year. So he's only been a sales rep for a year, and he's gone ahead and done that, which is a much faster progression than me, who stupidly took the ladder of trying to jump to that 50k a month mark, those much higher numbers, without taking the time to do all those steps in between. Tom here did the exact same. He started his own business in which he was also a fractional sales manager. He's packaged up the skills he learned from being a high ticket closer, and he's going on and selling that to businesses in which he's helping manage and scale their sales teams for them. So he's not even selling anymore, and he's again only been in the high ticket space, being a remote sales rep for I think 18 months at this point, maybe even close to a year. So I wanted to share these examples, and all of these people are on my YouTube channel. You can go and watch these interviews. You can go and see, some of them are older than others, but you can get a good understanding of like where they started, where they're getting to, or where they've got to, and ultimately where they want to get to moving forward. And there's other examples I can share with you too, but again, I don't want to sell you on, working for me and my product, because ultimately if you realize that this is a really good route for you, as people do, they come and work with us because we're the best at what we do. We're the best in the industry at this. But I really want to just position you and show you a different route that often a lot of people in the online space don't, in which they recommend and they show you these crazy models and like, this is why it makes so much money because of X, Y, and Z. Realistically, the more complexity, the harder it is to make money with initially. Yes, the result can be much higher, but if you want to go for safe, you want to go for guaranteed, and you want to go for simple, and yeah, it's boring because all it requires is you to take the time to actually learn how to sell and find and work at finding a good business to sell for, because that's ultimately going to be your first sell. You're going to have that success so much faster, and you're going to be able to go away and scale your business to the multiple millions, as I know you will do in the future.